Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. We call this one our Thanksgiving edition. And when I say Thanksgiving edition, I am proud to wear the Detroit Lions hat. Forget about the records, okay? Don't care. I've covered a lot of Lions games at the Pontiac Silverdome. And actually, I got to tell you, I had a great time. In fact, I even went out there and saw the one game where they botched the coin toss and the Lions actually got a break for a change. But I've covered a lot of great games at the Silverdome. And as Mel Farr will tell you, that Thanksgiving is a big deal in Detroit, right, Mel?
Absolutely.
So
huge deal.
With that said, we have a really loaded broadcast. Let me just welcome my partners for the night. We have Rick Curti. Welcome back, Rick.
Thanks for having me on your show, Scott. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Greg Fuchs, tell them what you do, Greg.
Good evening, everybody. I write for the South Florida Tribune for the most part.
And does a good job, too. And we got David Hodges. Welcome back.
How you doing, Scott? Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. David and Rick partnered up with me on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and they're going to get ready to go at it again in the not so distant future. And last but not least, we have my running back, Mel Farr Jr. Welcome back and happy Thanksgiving, Mel.
Same to you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
All right. So
You too, Mel.
we got a really busy show tonight. So we're going to go out there and do rapid fire, but make sure that we cover everything that's necessary for what this weekend entails. Once again, the Sports Exchange here is obviously presented by the South Florida Tribune and it is our Thanksgiving edition. With that said, okay, Greg, I want you to give everybody an overview about your story for the week.
All right, well, glad to. Well, as you all know, the Dolphins started the season 1-7, and now they've won 3 in a row. So it's a lot easier being a Dolphin fan, coach, and player too, I'm sure. Even though the Dolphins won on Sunday, they didn't play great. So if they want to beat Carolina this week, they're going to have to play better than they did against the Jets. But the one thing, if you read my article, you know what I'm going to say, through their first 8 games, the Dolphins not just lost the games, they were the reason they lost. They made a bunch of mistakes. And this week, the shoe was on the other foot. It was the Jets making some crucial mistakes. One of the big ones in the first quarter, I think first half, they had the ball on the Dolphins 5-yard line. Brandon Jones blitzes and Flacco fumbles the ball. Dolphins recover. So that was at least 3, if not 7 points that the Jets gave away. And then in the second half, not only did they miss another field goal, one from 40 yards, but they had 2 absolutely killer penalties. One of them, Tua, I'm trying to remember, Tua was sacked on third down, and it pushed him back to the 40-yard line, I believe, so out of field goal range, but there was a holding penalty. So then the Dolphins go down and score, and on another play, Tua threw an incomplete pass, and there was just a needless roughing the passer penalty. Just ridiculous by the Jets. Never should have happened. It was a good call by the refs, though. And the Dolphins went down and scored again. 1 touchdown, 1 field goal. That's 10 points. And when you lose by 7, 10 points is a lot. A few things the Dolphins did well. First of all, Tua completed 82% of his passes. Now, granted, a lot of them were short passes, but still, 82%, you really can't complain about that. And he had the big long pass to Hollins for the touchdown. And a surprising thing, even though they only averaged 3.7 yards per carry, the Dolphins actually ran the ball on Sunday. They ran the ball 33 times versus passing 34 times, so a 50-50 split. And for most of the season, it's been like 70% pass, 30% run. They gave up on the run quickly. So they did a good job of running the ball, did some play option, keeps the defense guessing, ate up the clock, especially in the second half. Jets couldn't get the ball back a couple of times because the Finns had some long drives. So some positives there. One thing, now if you're a Jets fan, the only positive, other than Joe Flacco, who I thought played reasonably well, I thought Flacco would be good for a couple of interceptions, get sacked 5 or 6 times. Only sacked twice, no interceptions. But if you're a Jet fan, the only bright spot I saw for the Jets was Elijah Moore. He was just fantastic. I know he was highly thought of coming out of college, and he's been getting more targets lately. And I think he had, 8 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown against the Dolphins. So that's the one bright spot if you're a Jets fan. But overall, the Dolphins played a solid, a mistake-free game for the most part. And when you do that, hey, what happens? You got a real good shot at winning the ball game, which is what they did.
All right. Well, Rick Curti, did you have a chance to see the Dolphins game or hear about it?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting game. It was kind of like pick your poison, Dolphins been playing a little bit better. The Jets are just woefully awful. I mean, they're cursed. The Dan Marino curse lives on with them. They just, they just have they've been trying to get a quarterback for years. Dak Wilson, not really, I was never a big fan of his, and really he struggles. So, but, and Flacco, he's got experience, won a Super Bowl. But Jets are, the Dolphins are playing a lot better, and hey, 3 in a row, so good for him, and they'll get some heat off of Flores, because the way it was going, it looked like he was dead man walking next season. I saw him being gone. Might stay on next season, hopefully, and I don't know if they're still interested in getting Deshaun Watson. I don't know what's going to happen with Tua. There's still some question marks with them, but overall, they've been playing a lot better now.
All right, Dave Hodges.
Yeah, I try to keep up with, a good bit of scores around the league. Didn't get to see too much about the Dolphins Jets. Of course, I know a topic we'll get into here very shortly. Obviously, Cam Newton is back in Carolina. They had a game against the Washington football team. Of course, old head honcho Ron Rivera back in town with his new squad. Of course, Carolina came up on the short end of the stick there. But of course, Cam Newton's first time back here in playing in Charlotte since his release a few seasons ago. But yeah, it's a lot of teams.
We're going to get to that game a little while. Let's just focus on the Dolphins and Jets. If you have any knowledge of it, that's no big deal right now, because I have a lot of things I want to talk about especially with 2 North Carolina guys on here. So, it's okay if you didn't follow as much. It's okay. It's not a big deal.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I said, I just kind of follow the scores, and I didn't really see any highlights, but yeah, it seems like it's just kind of a sad times up there in New York if you're a Jets fan.
Okay, and Mel?
Yeah, I didn't follow it. I didn't see the low lights of that game either. But I do feel bad for the new coach there. He's from Michigan.
Yeah,
I'd like to see him do well. It's unfortunate. Maybe it'll take him a little while to get that, turn that program around. Maybe the cupboards were bare. Having Adam Gase there, who just, he just totally destroyed that franchise while he was there, the morale and everything, got rid of personnel. Man, it's just going to take time. The one thing you got to do is you got to get that quarterback position right. But then you also got to build that team from front to back. You got to build it from the offensive line and then work your way back. So you got your quarterback. That's the guy that you selected. You picked him over a lot of other guys who were there. He was a guy from BYU that people fell in love with, were enamored with because of his arm talent. Okay, so you got your guy now. Now you got to get him some help. You got to get an offensive line. You got to get a run game. You got to get a defensive line. You got to be able to win the line of scrimmage. So that's something that the Jets are going to have to work on in the upcoming draft and also in free agency. They got to establish an identity, and they got to get him some protection to give him an opportunity, and they got to start winning the line of scrimmage.
Okay, well, just a little update here on the Jet situation. Joe Flacco and Mike White are on the COVID-19 protocol list because of close contact. Josh Johnson has been elevated to the backup. Zach Wilson will be starting. So as we talked about on last week's show, Mel and Greg, I just hope the Jets do not wreck Zach Wilson. I saw him play at the Boca Raton Bowl, and he shredded Central Florida like you wouldn't believe. So I hope that they don't come down on him too quick. And to go back to what Rick Curti said, I am glad that Brian Flores, there'll be a little bit of a reprieve with that winning streak, and hopefully the positive momentum can continue. But that said, we'll talk about the Thursday night game, 25-0 shellacking that the Patriots went ahead and laid on the Atlanta Falcons. Greg and Mel, obviously we talked about it at great length, so I'll just focus on your opinion on this one and we'll continue on. There were no travel problems for the New England Patriots, were there, Greg?
There certainly wasn't. The Patriots are playing much better recently. What, they won 4 or 5 in a row?
Right.
I'm still not 100% sold. I said that last week, even after destroying Atlanta. And you're going to find out a lot about the Patriots the next month. They got the Titans this week and the Bills twice, and then the Colts. But they play great defense and they can run the ball. And Mac Jones, they're not asking him to do a lot of heavy lifting. And he's very efficient when he does throw. So that's the strength of the Patriots right now. And the Falcons, I mean, there's a team you literally don't know what team is going to show up every week. I mean, they can just look horrible at other times, and other weeks Ryan will throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. So I just don't get the Falcons. Patriots, unfortunately for me, I'm tired of seeing them win or trending in the right direction.
All right. Well, Rick, you want to offer an opinion on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Patriots look great. I mean, I think a lot of teams are kicking themselves. You know, they could have gotten Mac Jones. You know, I think people kind of thought he's just a great, college quarterback, part of the Nick Saban system, and maybe he'll go there. And the Patriots, that's what they do well. They draft well, and Mac Jones, I mean, right now he's the rookie of the year. I mean, unanimous in my opinion. They're done great. They're playing great. He looks great. The Patriots are on a winning streak right now. I know a lot of people are really like, oh, good, Brady's gone. The Patriots won't hear from them anymore. And really not the case. You look great. And the Falcons, ever since they've choked in that Super Bowl, they have been terrible. It's like they just haven't gotten over that loss, that Super Bowl loss. And I don't know what's up with them. They're just incredibly inconsistent. Matt Ryan he's just Matt Ryan, nothing exciting about him, nothing great comes out of it. They just haven't been the same since they lost that Super Bowl. So Patriots looking great, Falcons are not. And Belichick, I think he's kind of like Brady wanted to show everybody that it was him. That was the reason why the Patriots were so successful. And I think Belichick saying, not so fast, look at us right now. And I have my next quarterback, hopefully in the next 20 years. So they're looking great. And I don't know if they're going to be like that, dynasty team that we saw winning all those Super Bowls. But right now they're off to a hot start.
Dave, is there anything you want to say about this game at all?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Rick here. Really, New England's one team I've kind of kept my eye on ever since Brady departed for a much warmer climate. But yeah, this is basically Bill Belichick's chance to say, I had a great quarterback, but I'm still a great coach. And you can see he's doing good without him. Obviously, of course, obviously Brady brought a Super Bowl to Tampa, but I like Mac Jones up there, and like Rick said, I think he's going to be the quarterback of the future for the New England Patriots. And I'm don't want to say surprised, but I'm just I'm really happy to see that. Of course, obviously the Patriots did beat the Panthers in one Super Bowl many years ago, but Belichick, he can still carry the momentum. Brady did not take it all with him when he left Foxborough.
Well, Mel, like I said, we talked about it last week about the fact that the travel situation didn't hinder the Patriots at all, did it? In your neck of the woods in Atlanta.
Well, that's not really, it's not really a long trip. They're professionals. The Patriots are professionals. You look at Mac Jones, he's the beneficiary of not having a whole lot of upside and not being very athletic and sliding in the draft. Generally, when you slide in the draft, you're going to slide to a better team. Teams that needed quarterbacks in the top end of the draft, they took the guys who had potential, as opposed to the guy who is a proven commodity, showing what he can do. There wasn't a whole lot of upside on him, but what he's done is been at a very, very high level. And he's just continuing to do the same things that he did at Alabama, just continuing to play at a high level. These other guys are still trying to live up to these lofty expectations that were placed on them. Now, had Mac Jones gone to San Francisco or the Jets, because there was talk about that, had he gone to the Jets, we wouldn't be having this conversation about Mac Jones. And I don't think the Patriots would be in a better situation than they are right now, because I don't know who they would have selected at that particular slot. I can't say that the kid Wilson fits what Bill Belichick wants to do. I think he's too risky. Definitely the quarterback that the 49ers selected would not necessarily fit in a Bill Belichick type system. So Mac Jones fell exactly where he should, he fell in the perfect situation. For quarterbacks, it's about being situation and system. And he's in the perfect situation and the perfect system for his skill set. And that's why he's performing at the level that he's performing at. Unfortunately, Atlanta, they're struggling. They're still struggling from like you guys have talked about from the Super Bowl. But you have to remember from that Super Bowl, they lost our offensive coordinator. That's a big deal. Matt Ryan had an MVP season that year. And then, Kyle Shanahan gets the 49er job. They still try to implement or still try to keep some of the things that Kyle Shanahan did. I think they brought who they bring in? The guy from Tampa Bay, the head coach from Tampa Bay, and brought him in here that I'd never really been a huge fan of.
Right.
And they struggled. Atlanta played 3 quarterbacks, and all three of them threw an interception. Matt Ryan threw 2, and the 2 backups threw an interception. So they're struggling right now. They can't control the line of scrimmage. They can't rush the passer. There's just a lot of things that they need to, they need to address in the upcoming draft and also in free agency.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about the game, number one, is we know that Matt Ryan is struggling, and that should be a good indicator that I believe the Falcons should be looking at drafting a QB next year. And of course, since we'll be doing a little bit of UCLA talk today, there was a Josh Rosen sighting in Atlanta, the backup quarterback for the Falcons. So, hey,
he's struggling because he has no protection. His offensive line is not that good. I mean, they had a lot of players injured as well. A lot of their skill guys injured as well. Matt Ryan is still a serviceable quarterback. I mean, you might, probably can get maybe 2, maybe squeeze out a third year out of him. He still has some tread left on the tire, but he needs an offensive line, because he's not very mobile at all. He can't get out the way. He needs offensive line and strong running game. That's what he had. That's what they had when they went to the Super Bowl. They had a very strong running game. They had a very good offensive line.
Yeah, well, I mean, for whatever it's worth, okay. I hope that Josh Rosen, even though I know you're not big on him, Mel, and I get it, we've talked about it from time to time, I hope he gets a real opportunity to develop a little bit in a more stable situation instead of being run out the door all the time. Because I still think he's young enough to salvage him, knowing that he's been shipped in a lot of locations in a short period of time. So we'll see. But yes, there was a Josh Rosen sighting. So now that we got 2 Carolina.
We got the XFL coming back in a couple of years. He probably get a
USFL.
Oh, hey, what about
USFL's
the
coming
USFL?
through.
Don't get me started there. The old
There you go.
Michigan Panthers, man, they're going to be starting up in April, and they're owned by Fox, or Fox a big part of them. So you never know. There's opportunities in spring football, and we may do a show on spring football down the line. In fact, I covered a USFL championship game between the Arizona Wranglers when they were in, and I think they were the Philadelphia Stars, way back at Tampa Stadium. Good thing that there will be some opportunities. I hope there are feeder leagues. Now that we have 2 Carolina people, David Hodges, we're going to let you get back in it, and you and Rick Curti, probably your Maury. All I want out of you guys in this particular situation is this. We know that the Washington football team went ahead and defeated the Panthers, I think 27-21. What is the energy level there, Dave? We'll start off with you about Cam Newton being in the area.
Well, definitely, the local media has loved it. Obviously, I personally, I was surprised, that he came back. Wouldn't have surprised me if there might have been a Josh Rosen sighting here in Charlotte. When they were probably shopping for quarterbacks, and of course, Cam Newton, he's always going to have a place in the heart of Panther fans. Love him or hate him. He's going to be an icon of this team. Of course, we drafted him number 1, rookie of the year. He took us to a Super Bowl. Of course, we lost, but there's just something about him, to where a bit of his heart is always going to be here in the Carolinas, with the Panthers, and the fans, like I mentioned, love him or hate him. Obviously, one thing I've noticed, with, from what I've seen on either, fan sites, blogs, coworkers, with Cam Newton, people either love him or they hate him. There's really not much gray area. So, I mean, and, I know a lot of people have said, well, if ticket sales are down, just bring him back. I had some coworkers that went to that game this past weekend, and they said the stadium just blew when he came onto the field, and which I knew it would. Obviously, he kind of has that swagger about him. And, people are always going to say, well, if he cares as much about football as he does his, wardrobe and his post-game presser, then, we might have a couple of Lombardi trophies in the trophy case, there at Bank of America. But I don't know if, Rick mentioned, I think before we went on the air, he's not going to be the quarterback of the future. He's, I just see him as a stopgap. I kind of figured, well, he's just here to, kind of, I guess, plug the leaks. Obviously, Darnold, he's out for a little while. A lot of people don't think he's going to be back. Some people don't see him as the, the quarterback of the future. And I know a lot of people were all over, when Teddy Bridgewater came, they said, well, hopefully he can give us a good couple of years. Well, he didn't even give us one good year, before they shipped him out. And, no football team is going to like, a quarterback carousel, whether you are going to be, a Jets fan or say, a Houston fan or, wherever the case may be. But I mean, he did good for him out there in Arizona. Obviously they got the win in his first game back with the team. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, Washington down here, Ron Rivera, I guess this, it was his homecoming. And I believe he's also got a Tyler Heineke up there, one of the backups from that was here a few years ago that he took with him up to Washington. But there's quite a bit of buzz. Obviously, that's about all anyone talked about when the Panthers re-signed him. But we'll just have to see. I like what Rick said. I don't believe he's going to get us a lot of wins. He might get us a few here and there, but it's definitely interesting. It'll really be a shot in the arm, and they will see ticket sales probably continue to go up in the more home games they play.
All right, Rick, take it away. I like when you're nodding your head about the old "I told you so" moment that you've been waiting 2 weeks to chomp at the bit about. That Sam Darnold isn't the guy, and now you get Cam Newton. So the floor is yours, and then we'll move on to our next topics. Since you guys are Carolina boys, and you're probably more equipped to talk about it than any of us.
Yeah, I was like, I remember when the Panthers were 3-1, and they looked pretty good in a good loss against the Cowboys, and I went on the show and said they're not that good. I ain't drinking their Kool-Aid. Darnold is not going to be the quarterback of the future. That was a mistake. And here we are, and the Panthers right now are going backwards instead of going forwards. They paid a quarterback $10 million for not even a season, who to me is washed up, and it's unfortunate. I'm just not a Cam fan. I was, but I got off of that bandwagon for a while, just the way hopefully he's grown up, because the first time he was here, he was just pouting, sulking. He cared it was all about him and his wardrobe. And I always said to people, Cam just wants to be a celebrity. He doesn't want to be a great quarterback. It's all about being a celebrity. And I'd be happy and energized too if a team paid me $10 million when nobody wanted me. So has he brought in energy? Yeah. Has he brought enthusiasm? Yeah. And I feel bad for the Panther fans, because I've been on Facebook reading their comments, and they're just delusional. They're just delusional about it. He's not going to take us to the Super Bowl. We're not going to win a Super Bowl with him. He's not the future. And Tepper, I don't know what he's doing with all these quarterbacks. He's still paying Teddy Bridgewater's salary. He's still giving Sam Darnold money, and now he's paying Cam Newton money. So he's paying 3 quarterbacks. And so I thought I liked Bridgewater. They just didn't give him an opportunity. He played 1 year. He did pretty good. They got rid of him. They brought Darnold. I was never sold on Darnold, and he's proven me right. And I'm just not sold on Cam. He's just not the future. He's got maybe a couple more years left, maybe. But, does he bring enthusiasm? Yeah. Does he bring ticket sales? Yeah. And the only reason they brought him in because the Panther fans were so upset with Tepper. And he knew he needed to do something to get that energy back, and said, I'll just bring back Cam Newton. And he brought him back. And are they playing better? Yeah, but their defense is bad. Everyone was so hyped up with their defense, and it's like they're not that good. It's an illusion, because look who they played early in the season. So they just are going backwards right now. I don't know what's going on with them. And Tepper needs to stop focusing so much on MLS in Charlotte and need to focus on his Panthers, because right now they're just the Panthers have never had a back-to-back winning seasons ever in their whole history. And I mean, it's just, they have been an inconsistent franchise all their lives. And hopefully Tepper can stop that. I'm hoping he is, because he came from the Steelers, learned from the Rooneys, or like greatest ownership in all sports. So hopefully he'll bring that to him. Right now ain't looking good, but they need to stop with this, quarterback carousel, get someone in there. I love PJ Walker. They need to use PJ Walker. He's a quarterback. He runs. He's good. He's quick. He's got a high IQ. That's who should be their starting quarterback, is PJ Walker.
All right, Greg or Mel, do you have anything that you want to add to what Rick and Dave said?
I was just going to ask Rick. I know nothing about PJ Walker. Is he someone who could be the future of the franchise, or just someone you want to see play this year to see what you got?
I want to see what he can do. He was fantastic in the USFL. The Colts praised him, and when he went to the XFL, people were like, "Who?" And the Colts were just praising. This guy is fantastic. Watch, and he lit it up in the XFL. And I know it's a different league, but the times he's played here, he's been great. I mean, people were so giving Cam all this credit for the Cardinals victory. It was PJ Walker who was the starting quarterback. He's the one that led that team to that great win against the Cardinals on the road, So he needs to be given an opportunity, whether he's a future or not, but he's young, he's quick, he's got a great arm, he's a pocket quarterback, and he can run, and he has a high IQ. And if they could just stop with this carousel of quarterbacks and put in PJ, see what he does, he could be, I mean, I don't know. He could be the next Warren Moon, or he could be the next Byron Leftwich. I don't know, but give the man an opportunity.
Mel, you want to add to this too?
Yeah, Rick, the next Warren Moon or Byron Leftwich?
Yeah, you don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
What I'll say about Cam is, I've always been very candid about him. I think Cam needs to put in the work. Cam can be a great quarterback. He's still young. You look around, Cam is a great passer, and he's kind of gotten away from that. He's relied a lot on his athletic ability, similar to Michael Vick, and not putting in the work to really become a proficient passer. I mean, he's 6'5", 250 pounds. I mean, he's ideal stature. Got to, can throw the ball. He can make all the throws. If Cam would just take the time, and granted, now he's only been there, maybe 10 days with Carolina, 10, maybe 9 days with Carolina right now. And you can see the only passes that he was really looking at were the checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey, the little option routes. Those are pretty much the only routes that he knew. He threw a couple little outs or whatever, but he only really knew the option route. That's the only routes that he was looking for Christian McCaffrey. If he takes time, if he's able to pick up this offense, Carolina could do some things, but it's really all in the Cam. It's all up to Cam. We don't know what Cam we're going to get. I think everybody's frustrated with Cam. I think they're excited about him, obviously, because he took him to a Super Bowl. He was a MVP of this league. Not many people can say that. So we know what the talent level is. We know what he's capable of doing. It's just a matter of whether or not Cam is willing to put in the work to get back to that point. I think he forgot how hard he worked to get to that point, to rise to the MVP of the league. And he's not willing to put in the work. Like you say, he's more interested in his fashion, his hair, his cigars, whatever, his hats. And that bothers me, as a fan, that bothers me, because I see how much potential he has, the God-given tools and talents that he has. And if he would just, the greatest gift that God gives man is talent. The greatest gift that we can give back to God is the full utilization of those talents and gifts that we're given. And Cam, he needs to honor God and utilize the gifts and the talents that he's been given, and go out there and realize them to their fullest potential. And then the sky is the limit for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to this thing before we move on to something else is I'd like to see what happens when he gets more familiarity with the offense and then the work ethic. And we'll revisit this in a couple of weeks. But, it certainly was nice to see what he did in Arizona. And of course, last week was competitive. But yeah, he has to learn the playbook and be committed to it and go from there. But that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's what I was just curious, especially to get the two North Carolina guys' thoughts. And of course, we like to add a little bit to ourselves. So But that said, since I have two North Carolina guys, we got two people from Los Angeles in here, and Mel and Rick, and we have a score: UCLA 62, USC 33. UCLA under Chip Kelly is now 7-4. USC that needs a coach is 4-6, and UCLA goes ahead. They'll take on Cal on Saturday, while USC gets BYU on Saturday, and they'll get to play Cal on December the 4th. Well, Mel, it's safe to say that I think Chip Kelly's doing pretty well, isn't he?
I reserve judgment on that. Well, it's still they're too up and down. But what I can say is that had Dorian Thompson-Robinson played that way all year long, that's the best I've ever seen him play. And if he played that way all year long, it'd be a different conversation as far as, the question that you asked me about Chip Kelly, because then you'd be saying, yeah, absolutely. The whole key has been him the entire year. As he goes, the team goes. He actually looked like a pro prospect the way that he performed on Saturday, where any other time he just looks like another guy out there that's just, biding his time and enjoying playing football, and realizes that, this is going to be the highest level he competes at. I mean, he made throws. He looked very confident. He made nice decisions. He made good runs. I mean, I had to really do a double take and say, is that the same guy that's been playing all year long, that played last year? Because he's been just so, really, I won't even say up and down. He's just been so down. Few bright spots, but mostly just kind of right here. But he played, and I had to tip my cap to him, because he played the best I've ever seen him play. And I was really happy, obviously, because, we beat USC, and, Rodney Peete had posted something on Facebook. And I've always said, and I've told this to people 1,000 times, Rodney Peete is a single reason why I don't have 2 Rose Bowl rings, because he posted a clip of an interception he threw right at the end of the first half. He threw the interception in the end zone. Our guy intercepts it. He ends up walking the guy down. It was a DB that went 2nd overall in the draft when he came out. And Rodney Peete walked him down. He put on there, "Never give up." And I had to comment on it. It still makes me sick to this day. I mean, I remember that like it was yesterday. That sick feeling losing to USC. So it was good to be able to talk trash to guys like Rodney, because obviously, he was pulling for his team. But we can stick our chest out and feel proud to walk around LA and anywhere else, knowing that we got the upper hand on them and put a 60 burger on them. That's a lot of points. So feel real good about that. But the key to all that is Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He played the best game I've ever seen him play.
I mean, geez, Mel, 62-33. I mean, that isn't putting a spanking on.
I thought it was a Big 12 game. I'm like, what are we watching? The Big 12 or the Pac-12? What is this?
Right. No, I hear you. But a 62-33 beatdown with a team that right now doesn't have a coach. In fact, they let Clay Helton go, and he gets hired by Georgia Southern. And James Franklin today, just so you guys know, got locked up for 10 years.
But you look at that contract, you look at the buyout. I mean, the buyout up into 2022 is $12 million, and then it goes down 2022, and that's in the spring. Then it goes down the latter part of 2022 to like $8 million. So yeah, they can get out of it real soon, because Franklin, they've been, every year they lose a game that they should win. And you look at them this year, what are they? 6-3, 6-4, whatever.
Well, I guess my point, Mel, is
they didn't want him to start flirting with other positions. I mean, there's other jobs out there.
That's true.
Florida's open right now. LSU is open right now. USC is open. His name has been linked, obviously, to USC and also LSU.
Auburn too.
Want to try to lock him up.
And Auburn, sorry.
In Auburn,
Virginia Tech. I said Virginia Tech's open too.
Yeah, but that's not a marquee job.
Yeah, but my point is the fact that, and we'll get on a future broadcast, we'll go ahead and talk about some of the openings. But yeah, right now USC's got problems because a lot of the good candidates are dwindling. So unless you have top-notch offensive coordinators or NFL coaches, it's another story. So Rick, okay, you being
I still think Luke Fickell's getting that job.
What's that?
I still think the Cincinnati coach is getting that job.
Oh, do you? All right. Well, if he which one? The
USC job.
Okay. Well, you know what? All of us hear you, so I'll be curious to see if that plays out. Okay, Rick. Now, obviously, you're talking to a UCLA guy in Mel,
Yeah.
okay, and being an LA guy, and that's okay. Be honest, because you always are, anyways.
You
Who
a
do you
Trojan?
root for in that rivalry, USC or UCLA?
I don't really root for any of them, to be quite honest. I mean, I like both teams. You know, I grew up there. You know, I mean, I didn't go to college. I mean,
Really, I mean, you have to have a favorite. I mean, you
Come
can't
on,
just,
Rick,
you know,
don't be
at least
afraid.
like a
If you're
uniform,
bashing the Panthers,
something.
no.
well, I've always been a Marcus Allen fan, so I do like the Trojans. So there you go. You know, so I remember those good old days, you know, with John Robinson and all that.
Nobody
So those
right,
were fun.
nobody left. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and I remember Gaston Green when he was at UCLA. He was a phenomenal running back. You know, so I mean, it's a great rivalry. I hope to see that rivalry come back. You know, UCLA right now is trending in the right direction. I'm happy for Chip Kelly. I've always been a big Chip Kelly fan. Always thought he was a much better college coach than he was in the NFL. There's just some people who are great at college and some great at the NFL and vice versa. And he's a great college coach. And right now they're looking good. So he's heading in the right direction. USC, not so much. They fired their head coach. Probably should have fired him a couple seasons ago, but
They wanted
know,
to, but they couldn't
yeah,
afford
but
to
the
buy out.
contract, yeah, they had to wait till it was gone, and so they pulled the trigger. We knew he was going to be gone. Well, I'm interested to see who they get. You know, it could be Luke Fickell. I don't know. I mean, they need to get a big name. They just can't get some coordinator there that no one's heard of because people are going to be upset. So I'm interested to see who they get. It'll be really good. But I'm happy. I want to see that rivalry come back. It was a fun rivalry.
All
You
right,
know,
so
Terry Donahue is the coach of UCLA. Maybe those were the good old days, and hopefully they can come back. But USC needs to get a big name coach, and they need to come back. And you know, hey, you know, I don't know, Pete Carroll. Maybe they could bring you know, maybe they could bring him back. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he's too old to come back or not, but I like to see him come back. Those were the good old days with Leonard and Reggie Bush, and I want to see that rivalry come back. So we'll see what happens. But it was a very impressive win for UCLA.
So we're going to say that Rick is a Trojan. We know about Mel.
Yeah, I'm a Marcus Allen fan, so and a John Robinson fan.
And
I'm a John Robinson fan too. I'm a Marcus Allen fan as well, but I'm still a Bruin.
Well, I love, and that's great. And I'm a huge Gaston Green fan.
Well, I've always loved the Bruins.
My roommate.
And the quarterback.
Yeah, awesome.
I've always loved the Bruins anyways, and the quarterback to me that will always stand out in my mind is Troy Aikman.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to close. I mean, yeah, come on. I mean, but Troy Aikman's the one guy, and they don't produce a lot of quarterbacks, but the one that they did produce happened to.
They had one quarterback that won the Heisman Trophy. Only Heisman Trophy winner in UCLA history. He was a quarterback.
Yeah, well, tell me who it is.
Gary Beaven.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, there you go.
Played with my dad. He played with my dad. Played.
Oh well, there you go. Okay. Well, so we got the Trojan, we got the Bruin, and obviously the Bruins got bragging rights for the Battle of Southern California. I love it when we have these little internal rivalries amongst us. Okay. So being a long range guy, Dave and Greg, you any thoughts about these guys, the Bruins or the Trojans?
And I didn't see the game, but it's been a while since either program really mattered on a national level. And I think college football is better off when those two programs are strong. So hopefully UCLA keeps improvement and USC hires the right coach.
Dave, any closing thoughts before we go on to Michigan, Ohio State?
Well, I've always been a Notre Dame fan ever since I was a kid. So anytime USC gets beat, I am happy. So I'm with Mel on this one. But yeah, it's, you know, really just, you know, the rivalry between, you know, Notre Dame and Southern California. And, you know, I've been such a, you know, college football fan for the longest time, but that fandom really took a hit, you know, with, you know, Reggie Bush, you know, was saying, you know, he was given, you know, or he received, you know, improper benefits, or, you know, I think his family was given a house. I mean, I know there was a whole book written on it. It's called Tarnished Heisman. I've read about 3/4 of it, never did finish it, but yeah, it's like the guys have said, you know, when these two are at their peak, you know, it's good for the game. But yeah, so I'm going to roll with UCLA on this one. to just, kind of lay the beat down on Southern Cal. Like I said, when you're, a Notre Dame fan, anytime Southern Cal gets beat, whether it's, by UCLA or, if, right here locally, if Gaston College ever fields a football team, they go out there and beat USC, you're going to be happy. But I'm with the Bruins on this one. Always happy to see, USC get beat. Sorry, Rick.
Well,
That's okay.
all I'll say about it is I'm all UCLA. I love Westwood. Okay. I love Westwood big time. And I've had a lot of great memories of Westwood. And I can't forget the fact that not only do I like Troy Aikman, but who the heck doesn't love John Wooden? So we're going to leave it at that.
Amen.
So,
Any
awesome.
basketball, but yeah, John Wooden, just one of the greatest coaches across any American sport in the history of American sport.
The greatest college coach ever.
well, I
Sorry,
had the
Coach
good
K.
fortune of meeting him a few years ago. So let's go on to Michigan and Ohio State. Okay. We're not going to go into detail because we have some Thanksgiving games to talk about, but let's face the reality. Me personally, and maybe it's my Midwest bias a little bit, I don't think there's a bigger rivalry in college football than Michigan and Ohio State, albeit, okay, Jim Harbaugh hasn't won one against them, but they're going in there pretty well equipped with Aiden Hutchinson and that ferocious defense. I think the Wolverines should have beaten Michigan State. They didn't. Okay, like Mel will always say, it only takes one bad play to mess a few things up. And there were one or two plays that hampered the Wolverines after in the Spartans game. So, all right, with that said, David, what are your thoughts about the Michigan-Ohio State game? And for that matter, everybody on this game is going to give a prediction. Go ahead, David.
I think Ohio State's just too good this year. Obviously that's a game, like you said, basically, the whole country, tunes into, if you are a college football fan. But it's Ohio State's just rolling this year. Like you said, Harbaugh, still, you said looking for that win against them. I'm gonna have to go with Ohio State on this one. I'd say that Ohio State wins by at least 2 touchdowns.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Okay, Greg.
Yeah, this past weekend, I was looking forward to the Michigan State Ohio State game, and I was running some errands in the morning, so I figured I'll catch the second half. And I checked my phone and I go 49-0. You got to be kidding me! So that was surprising. I agree with Dave. I think Ohio State will win by a couple of touchdowns. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in Jim Harbaugh being able to beat Ohio State. And Ohio State has got some big offensive players. Those wide receivers and the quarterback, those guys are good.
All right, Rick.
Yeah, Harbaugh's had a lot of pressure. This is actually the best season that he's coached. I know a lot of people criticize when he had a big old extension, but they've been doing well. They actually beat Penn State. I don't know if that's saying a lot, but he finally got some kind of monkey off his back. But Ohio State's just way too strong. It wasn't for to me, Georgia and Ohio State are 2 of the best teams right now. Ohio State got off to a slow start. They looked terrible against Oregon early in the season, but ever since then, they have just turned it up and they shellacked Michigan State. And I was surprised by that. That'd be a better game. It was a complete shellacking of them. So I do have Ohio State winning very comfortably, but probably by by 21 points.
Okay.
I think it'll be pretty close. And then I think at the second half, Ohio State will just turn it on and they'll beat them. And unfortunately, the struggle with Harbaugh continue. And whether he wants to go back to the pros or not, I have no idea. But little by little, his stock has been dropping.
All right, Mel, what are your thoughts?
It's funny. Me and a friend of mine were talking about this game, talking about Michigan, actually. I'm a Harbaugh fan. I'm not a Michigan fan. He said, well, if you were recruited by Michigan, maybe you'd be a Michigan fan. I said, well, maybe, but, he said, maybe you would have went there. I said, no, those guys were maniacs, man. Those guys are crazy up there. I said, I would have definitely went to Michigan State over Michigan. But having said that, Ohio State looks very good this year. They looked very good last week, I should say. And, but, Harbaugh, I think he's lost 6 in a row to Ohio State. I think he's gone back to his roots at Stanford, running the football and establishing that running game, winning, dominating the line of scrimmage. And I think that this is the year they get it done. They are playing at the big house, so it's going to be full, 100,000 plus, high noon. So it's not going to be too cold or anything like that. The sun will be out a little bit for, Michigan standards. And, I expect that he's going to have those guys ready to play. And I think that Michigan is going to pull off the upset and win this football game. Now, you said that, people who love college football are going to be watching this game. This game has huge ramifications as far as the college football playoffs is concerned. Ohio State right now is ranked number 2, and Michigan is outside looking in right now at number 5, if I'm not mistaken, either number 5 or number 6.
Right.
And they're outside looking in right now. Cincinnati is number 4. They are actually, they've actually been made it cracked into the top 4. So game has huge ramifications because whoever wins is in, whoever loses is out. And that's, it's just as simple as that. So it's a big time game, big time playoff implications. And, obviously for Jim Harbaugh, he needs to win one because he hasn't won one. And, that cost Cooper his job. I mean, the guy did nothing but win 10 games a year, 10, 11 games a year, but he couldn't beat Michigan. And that cost him his job. So this will, you can go 0-11, but as long as you beat Ohio State, then you might have a chance of surviving and keeping your job. But go 10-2 and lose to Ohio State again, that's not going to get it done.
Yeah, you know what, Mel, I'm going to go with you on this one too. The game is in Ann Arbor. Michigan has a tremendous running attack, and more importantly, their defense is a very fearful defense that attacks the quarterback. So anytime you have those 3 things going for you, and yeah, I believe that Jim Harbaugh needs this one in the worst way, then I'm going to go with the Wolverines. But I think it's going to be a very close game that'll be decided 7 points or less at the big house. We've talked about the urgency of it. Well, so be it. So 2 of us believe the Wolverines, 3 of us believe in Ohio State, and we'll revisit this again in the not so distant future. Well, we have some NFL games on Thursday, and like I said, I've enjoyed being a part of Thanksgiving football for a lot of years with the Lions. So what I'm going to do is go over each and every one of these games, okay? But I'm going to go in backwards order from the late night game all the way to the Lions game. The Buffalo Bills at the New Orleans Saints at 8:20. Well, I'll tell you one thing about the Buffalo Bills: too much Jonathan Taylor and that 41-15 loss. So the Buffalo and the New Orleans Saints are decimated. They don't have a quarterback. This is not Drew Brees anymore. Jameis Winston is out. Taysom Hill got paid some ridiculous amount of money for being a hybrid guy. Okay, so what I basically want out of you guys are predictions. Again, Buffalo at the New Orleans Saints. Okay, David, where do you want to go with this?
I'll take New Orleans on this one. I read about Taysom. Taysom Hill has new contract, and they said it's one of the most unique contracts in history, to where I think he gets I don't know how many tens of millions if he gets named the starting quarterback.
Right.
I mean, I know you said he's always kind of played the hybrid position. Obviously, when Drew Brees was there, nobody was taking that position. But I'm going to go New Orleans on this one. I'll say 28-7 Saints.
28-7. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, you say it's a wow. So where are you going with it?
Well, these are 2 teams recently. You have no idea what team is going to show up in a given week. I always like teams that have the best quarterback, and huge quarterback advantage here for the Bills. They're playing at home, and it's time for them to get their act together. So I'll go with the Bills. Saints got a pretty good defense. 27-13.
Well, the game is in New Orleans, just so you know.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that doesn't
I'll
matter.
still go 27-13.
What was that?
I'll stay with my 27-13.
All right, and just so you know, I'm going to mention records in these games too. The Buffalo Bills enter the game 6-4, and New Orleans is 5-5. Okay, Rick, where you want to go with it?
Yeah, I mean, the Saints are just a totally different team without Drew Brees. I mean, it's amazing that he never won a regular season MVP, because you can see how valuable he is, because the Saints are just no good. I mean, even with Winston, they just, nothing was happening. He's out. They got with a Simeon now, and they're just not a good team at all. And it's just amazing that once Drew Brees left, they're just a completely different team. The Bills, I said that they're the biggest disappointment in the NFL. I had Allen as my MVP, and they've just been incredibly inconsistent. They'll look great one game and look terrible the next game, lose to Jacksonville. So even though it's in New Orleans, I'm going to go 21-10 Buffalo. They just have a better quarterback. They could turn it on. And Allen's still a great quarterback, and the Saints are just not a really good team. They have no quarterback, and they're just not good at all right now.
All right, Mel, where are you going with this one?
So is Kamara healthy?
Well, that's
Is he
the thing.
playing?
I
Is he
don't
gonna play
know.
on Thursday?
I don't think he practiced today.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going with Buffalo then. You got to understand, Drew Brees he had Alvin Kamara. He also had Michael Thomas, who Jameis has not had. Okay, he's been hurt. Jameis was doing a good job there until he got hurt in that little freak injury. But I'm gonna go with Buffalo. I mean, both these teams are coming off losses, if I'm not mistaken. I know Buffalo's coming off a very embarrassing loss, and it's kind of good that they get this quick turnaround so they can get that nasty taste out of their mouth. And I'm sure they're chomping at the bit to try to get that nasty taste out of their mouth. And I expect Buffalo to win this game. I don't expect it to be a high-scoring game, but I'm probably 21-17.
Right. It's funny. I was thinking the same score. And we're gonna make it completely unanimous here. Any team quarterback by Trevor Siemian, okay, doesn't really quite win a lot with me. But again, unless you have a healthy Kamara and you have a healthy Mark Ingram and you have a very limited deck with the wide receivers, and Buffalo knows that this is a game where they need it in the worst way to get in the playoffs. They really do. So, Mel, I was thinking GMTA Saints are great minds think alike. So I'm going to stick with your score at 21-17. I really believe that it isn't going to be a high scoring game, and that quick turnaround for Buffalo, they need it in the worst way. Because as I told the other guy last night that I had on when I wore the Indianapolis Colts hat and Jonathan Taylor laid a nice beating down on him. Well, sorry, pal. The Wisconsin Badgers produced a pretty good player that everybody had a chance at, and Indianapolis was smart enough to pick him up. So I guess it's we have a 5 spot here with everybody drinking the Buffalo Bills potion. All right, let's go on to the next contest. You got the Las Vegas Raiders, 5 wins and 5 losses. At the Dallas Cowboys, 7-3. For the Dallas Cowboys, they're facing 2 straight AFC West opponents. Obviously, we saw that the Dallas Cowboys were not in sync against Patrick Mahomes in that 19-9 loss. So again, we're going to start with Dave Hodges. Okay, well, who are you going with this?
I think I'm going to go with the Cowboys on this one. I've never been a Cowboy fan. I don't want to say I'm a hater, but they've just, never really have done it for me. Yeah, I think they're going to get it done. I know they're a regular team on Thanksgiving. They're always playing. Yeah, the Raiders, they've had, quite a year, obviously, with Gruden getting fired and obviously as he well deserved it. But yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to take this one. I think it'll be a little bit closer. I'll say 28-21 Cowboys.
Okay, Greg.
I like that score. 28-21 Cowboys makes sense to me. Cowboys, another one of those teams. I mean, they were horrible against the Chiefs offensively, at least. And a couple of weeks ago, their offense was horrible again. With all that talent, I don't understand how Dallas's offense can be terrible. This week, no Cooper, probably no CD Lamb, but they still got some good receivers. They still got a couple good running backs, and they need to win. It's at home, Thanksgiving Day. So, like I said, I'll go with the 28-21 that Dave said.
All right, Rick.
Yeah, Cowboys, I'm not a Cowboy fan at all. Their fans just rub me the wrong way. I'm really not a big Dak Prescott fan at all. And they look terrible last week. And the Raiders, unfortunately, with Gruden and all these distractions with players in these, just getting rid of, 2 players one for being an idiot, or both being idiots. And unfortunately, someone died because of it. And right now they're just, they got to give the Raiders, they got the guts, they really do. They've been playing their hearts out, but I just think Dallas is a little too more talented. They're at home. I don't think it's going to be an impressive win. I have it like maybe like a 27, 21 score, something like that. I think the Cowboys will win, but it'll be like a performance. They'll be okay, but they'll win.
Okay, Mel, where are you going with this one?
I think the Raiders forgot that this is a marathon and not a sprint. They kind of got out there like gangbusters. They got out there early. Now the field is kind of catching up to them now. I think they won their first 4 or 5 games or whatever, 4-0 or whatever. And now the field is kind of catching up to them. Dallas has a lot of injuries. Ezekiel Elliott is not going to be 100%. Obviously, I don't think that that Lamb is going to be playing. And but Dallas' defense is terrible, and they played horrible last week, and gave up a lot of big plays. So I do see the score being 28-21, but I got the Raiders.
Really? Okay.
Like it.
Well, you know what? I'm going to go with the Cowboys. For some reason or another, I think they're mad after what happened in Kansas City, but I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys, actually 27-13. And I'll tell you why I'm going with a more lopsided score. I believe the running game with Ezekiel Elliott, and they need to get more of the running backs involved. If they can control the football despite their defense, I don't know. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be angry. Anytime Jerry Jones starts making comments and gets upset, you better listen a little bit too. So a little bit of fire with Mr. Jones. And
anytime I can see Jerry choking on a turkey leg, that's what makes me excited. He's gonna be up in that box choking on his turkey leg.
Well, I want to see Jones do well in this game anyways, and I'll tell you why, because it's
I love when he frowns up there in the box.
That a boy. Yeah, that's a good way to, that's a good analogy. Thanks, Mel. That's what we love about you. But I got to believe that the Cowboys are going to be angry enough to turn this into a double-digit win. But they need to rely on they need a good running attack this game, and if they could find some adequate receivers. So they're going to be angry after what took place in Kansas City. But you know why I really want the Cowboys to win in a big way? I've always been a firm believer that when I talked to Jerry Jones many years ago in Arizona, when the Cardinals were taking on the Cowboys over at Sun Devil Stadium, when I covered that game, Jerry, when they were talking about taking the Thanksgiving game away from the Lions, Jerry Jones said to me, you know what? If I have anything to say about it, they're not going to do it. I have a lot of say in this whole league. So they say the Lions never lost the game. So all right, I'm going to
they never will.
What's that?
They never will, and neither will the Cowboys. I mean, the Lions were the first one to have it. And
Right.
then the Cowboys, I think they had their first one in 65 or 66. And then for 2 years, they didn't have it because Pete Rozelle wanted to showcase Don Coryell. I think it was 1975, 77.
Right.
The St. Louis Cardinals at that particular time. And they got blown out in that game. And he went back to Tex Schramm, begged him, would you please take the Thursday, take the Thanksgiving game back? And he said, yeah, we'll do it under one condition, that it's forever. So the Cowboys will never lose it either.
Well, no, I agree with you, Mel, all the way. The Lions, and that's why do you think that's why they got the prime time game to appease the other ones that wanted it. So I'm with
Detroit, that's that one prime time game they get a
I know. Don't we know that all too much, Mel Farr? Oh, yeah. That's why I'm wearing the old Lions hat. So with that said, we're going to end it with the Lions. Okay, David Hodges, where are we going with this one? But before you say anything, the Bears enter the game 3-7. The Lions are 0-9-1. Albeit, I think the Lions should have won a game already. They had 2 last-minute kicks that beat them and that ridiculous tie. So the Lions should have at least 2 or 3 victories out of this whole thing. But the reality is they're sitting at 0-9-1. So David Hodges, okay, take it away. Who are you going with, the Lions or the Bears? In a game that if the Bears lose to the Lions, I think Matt Nagy's going to get fired. And just so you know, okay, Andy Dalton is starting, and the Bears are coming out into a 5-game losing streak, and Justin Fields is out for a little while. All right, Hodges.
No, I mean, yeah, it's just 2 teams that are just having a dismal year. But we know that obviously the Lions are.
Somebody's got to win. Well, maybe.
We have another tie.
Well, you never know if Detroit might come out of this 0-9-2. I mean that right there would have to set some kind of NFL record.
0-0.
Yeah, there you go. I'll say I don't see much. This will just be kind of a game where people are maybe having the appetizers. Right before the main feast. But I see the Bears, probably squeaking this one out. I think Detroit will give them a little bit of a run for their money. They desperately want that first win. I'll say maybe 17-14. I'll make it a close one, 17-14, but I will give it to the Bears.
Okay, Greg.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game to watch. I may actually have to flip the channel and watch the dog show instead of watching this game.
Nice thought.
I'm sorry on this points. I think 17-10. Not thrilled with either of the quarterbacks. I don't think Goff's going to start for the Lions, right? I think this will be ineptness versus ineptness.
So give me your predict. 17-10 who?
17-10 Bears, and the Golden Retriever will win the award this year in the dog contest.
Okay, well, interesting opinion. They only get more interesting as we go around the horn, as they would say. All right, Rick, where are you going with this bad boy?
Well, I mean, this is going to be like I said, we talk about all these bowl games in college. This would be the toilet bowl. This is going to be a bad game. Both teams stink. There's already rumors that if Nagy loses, he's gone. I think he's gone anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. It's going to be a terrible game. I'm going to go with the Lions. I mean, I don't see them. They've been playing a little better, I guess, and then they get blown out, and then they have a tie. So, like I always tell people, well, they didn't lose. So, and I don't think it'll be another tie. I think it's going to be an ugly, ugly game. But I'm going to go with the Lions 13-10.
Okay, Mel.
So the bad thing about this is it could cost a lot of families their marriages, because is it going to be the food that's making you sick, or is it going to be the play that's making you sick? And this is not, one thing about, Scott knows growing up in Detroit, the Lions have done some things on Detroit that they play. This is their Super Bowl. It has been since the Super Bowl era. This has been Detroit's Super Bowl, and they've done some great things on this day, on Thanksgiving Day. They've also done some pretty bad things. I've seen some guys come in there and wreak havoc. I've seen Lawrence Taylor come in there and wreak havoc and take an interception back 100 yards. I've seen and I was actually in the car, so I didn't see it because we left because we thought the Lions had won the game. But when they ended up playing Chicago in overtime, and Chicago ended up tying the game in the fourth quarter and then taking the kickoff back.
Yeah, I remember that game.
I was actually in the car. We were on our way home to go eat because we thought the Lions had that game wrapped up. But having said all that, the Lions and Dan Campbell, having been a former Lion and played for the Lions and understanding the importance of this game, will get his players up. Now, whether or not they can ride this emotion for 4 quarters or not, I don't know. But I am going to go with Detroit. I'm going to say that Detroit wins this game, and I'm going to say that it's going to be 21-13 Detroit.
Okay. Well, you know what?
Now, you see, at the same time, I'm holding my hand, so I'm praying too.
Maybe I should put a hashtag on here called praying. Okay, but I won't. I don't want to send the wrong message. I actually am going to go with the Lions too. My initial score, I think, would have been 20-17, but you could see a 16-13 outcome as well. Nevertheless, it'll be decided by a field goal. And you know what? I got to give Dan Campbell credit. This team plays as hard as they can, week in and week out. They had a couple lopsided games, but they play hard. If they had any luck at all, it would be no luck. But I don't see them losing this football game. If they only win 1 or 2 games a year, plus it's their best shot at a win all year, because as Mel stated, okay, they do a lot of interesting things on this particular day. And you know what? Somebody's got to feel good once in a while in Detroit. But I do believe the Lions are going to win it by a field goal, whether it's 20-17, 16-13. Now, again, we'll be getting updates on the Goff situation, whether he's going to play. Tim Boyle's first act wasn't any good, but the real big variable in this game, should the Lions pull out, is Deandre Swift, the running back. They've had a couple straight 100-yard games. I love this kid. And you know what, Greg, whether you're looking at golden retrievers or not, okay, and I understand that, okay, a lot of us other people will be looking at Deandre Swift, okay, so we'll see what happens. But Dan Campbell, to his credit, okay, gets this team to play very, very, very hard. He really does. And I think Mel, like Mel knows, they're going to work really diligently to go ahead and make sure they're ready to go on Thursday. So 3 of us of the 5 believe the Lions. And you know what? There's no doubt whoever's on next week, we're going to certainly have a chance to talk about it then. With that said, I know we've had a lot of things to talk about. I think it's been really a lot of fun talking both college and pro football. So any of you guys have any closing thoughts real quick before we wrap it up?
I got a question for Mel. Watching the game last night, I felt sorry for Daniel Jones. That offensive line couldn't protect him. They couldn't run the ball. Might be an offensive line that's worse than the Dolphins' offensive line, even though both teams have used high draft picks, signed some free agents. My question for Mel is, for offensive lines, how much is talent versus coaching and development, or having a quarterback who can change protection, change plays at the line of scrimmage? I mean, what makes a great offensive line? You got to be more than just talent.
You can help your offensive line by running the football. So that takes some of that steam out of those guys that are trying to rush the passer all the time. The greatest neutralizer also to a team that likes to get after the quarterback is, being able to have a screen game, to slow those guys down a little bit, get those guys running, get them tired, get them rushed up the field real quick, dump off a quick pass. And we see Jason Garrett, obviously I don't know if he's a scapegoat. I never really particularly cared for him as a play caller, but, he lost his job, obviously, because the offense was just inept. I think that, the coach there saw probably some things that you're looking at too, and some things that he wanted to change to make it a lot easier for Daniel Jones and also for that offensive line. Establish a running game. We got one of the best backs in all of football. Hey, let's commit to running the football. Let's run the football. Let's go back to old power football and let's run the football like what the Titans do. Run the football, play action game. That takes a lot of pressure off your offensive line and makes their job so much easier, where the guys just aren't sitting there with their ears pinned back and, chomping at the bit and frothing at the mouth because they know they're going to go back there and have a meeting at the quarterback.
Well, it's funny how you mentioned that, Mel, because I know you mentioned earlier where Jim Harbaugh has a puncher's chance because that's what they did over at Stanford, running the football. And I think that, Greg, as you obviously mentioned about the offensive line and running the football, how it all kind of comes together. So I'm glad you brought that up. I think a lot of people have to realize how valuable the offensive line, the Packers are finding it out because their offensive line are dropping like dominoes. We'll get to that next week. But yeah, no, there's some good points here. I'm glad you were able to bring it up. Thank you, Greg. All right, with that said, Rick Curti, before we end the broadcast, I want you to give your COVID-19 message, and then everybody can go ahead and say what they want at the very end.
Well, the holidays are coming up. We have Thanksgiving Thursday, and I know a lot of people are flying in, going to parades and everything. And, I just make sure to tell people, whether you're vaccinated or fully vaccinated or partially vaccinated or not vaccinated, just to be careful, be safe out there, continue wearing masks. I got my booster shot a couple of weeks ago. I got a flu shot. I got both my shots. So I'm fully vaccinated, but I still wear a mask. I make sure I'm not out in like large groups of people. Try not to get my foot off the gas pedal. Just make sure I'm safe, make sure everyone's safe. And like I said, I know people are sick of it. I'm sick of COVID. I'm sick of wearing a mask. I'm ready to go back to the life we had 2 years ago. But unfortunately, we're not out of the woods yet. Cases are rising in some places. So just be careful, be safe out there. Don't be careless. Wear your mask. Have small groups if you can. Have fun, but at the same time, be safe. And please get vaccinated. And once we get a lot more people vaccinated, hopefully we can just get rid of COVID, and it'll be a horrible memory and something we can learn from. Just mask up, be safe, and just don't be careless and let your foot out the gas pedal, because it's still there and it's still rising.
Well, while you're at it, Rick, continue on, let people know how they get a hold of you, and then we'll go with everybody before we wrap her up.
You could check out my website at www.charlottebats.com. My email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats. I'm on Twitter, Charlotte Bats, Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti. and you can contact me on any of those social media websites.
All right, Greg, you're next.
Yeah, you can follow me on southfloridatribune.com, on Twitter at Chief Fuchs, at Gregory Fuchs. And I also have a Facebook page. And if you find me on Facebook today, I posted maybe the one and only Thanksgiving song, Arlo Guthrie's classic, Alice's Restaurant. So give it a listen.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree with Rick. Just everybody stay safe. Obviously, we are coming up on a holiday, and last year was a lot tougher. Yeah, like I said, everybody, if you haven't gotten the vaccine, please get out there and get it. Mask up. Again, watch large groups. I know everybody's ready to get back to normal, but don't, of course, as Rick said, don't rush it. We got to stay safe. Life will get back to normal soon. Other than that, everyone have a great Thanksgiving and enjoy some good football coming up.
So is there anything you want to add in terms of how people get a hold of you, Dave?
Sure. Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Dave Talks Sports. I'm also on Facebook at Dave Davino Hodges, Davino. Big time soccer fan. I've always loved the Brazilian teams, and those guys, their nicknames always seem to end in HO. So or at least an O, if not with the H in front of it. So I kind of gave myself a Brazilian soccer name. But yeah, those are the two social media platforms that I am on most of the time.
All right, well, I'm handing the rock off to my running back, Mel. Go ahead, let them know how they get a hold of you.
All the different social media at Mel Farr Jr. You can follow what we're doing here in Atlanta and also up in Michigan for the young people at melfar.org.
Very good. And in terms of getting a hold of us, Greg mentioned it. I'll reiterate. Our website's www.southfloridatribune.com. Candy Ebling does a marvelous job the way she works the website and puts all the broadcasts up. You can also follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. Please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. There's no charge, just a little click will get it done. Our email address is southfloridatribune@gmail.com. You can also find these broadcasts on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you go ahead and get your podcast. Guys, I got to tell you, you guys did a wonderful job tonight. I know the show went a little bit longer, but I wasn't worried about that because we had a lot of ground to cover. I'm glad we were able to cover a lot of college football as well as pro football. And of course, Thanksgiving is what it is. And, there's a lot of football as well as other sports going around there as well. So, and that's what it's all about. We want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to enjoy the information that we're going to put out there. And more importantly, be safe over the holiday weekend. And don't look at the scale because you might fall into that situation called depression. If you don't care about the scale, then go out there and then eat all the stuffing and the turkey you want. But I'll give you some words of wisdom before we end the broadcast, folks. I remember I spent one Thanksgiving out in Kansas City with a college buddy of mine. And that weekend, I actually ended up covering the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. And my best friend and I broiled a turkey, and it's safe to say there were no leftovers, and I could have shot baskets at that bird. So, and that was when Belichick was coaching the Cleveland Browns and the Lions were losing. Forget about then again, what can I tell you? But I've had a lot of great Thanksgivings. That was certainly a good one. But more importantly, folks, please be safe. Happy Thanksgiving, and we look forward to the next episode of the Sports Exchange. So on behalf of Rick Curti, Greg Fuchs, Dave Hodges, and Mel Farr Jr., my name is Scott Morganroth. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you the next time. Once again, folks, happy holidays. Until the next time we meet. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night.